When you manage procurement for multiple facilities, every order matters. But when it's for a hospital system, they matter even more. Grainger gets it and knows there's no time for managing multiple suppliers and no room for shipping delays. That's why Grainger offers millions of products in fast, dependable delivery, so you can keep your facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance. And now we're customizing this ad for your morning commute to wake you up, which could help your driving. Science says that stimulating the brain increases alertness. So here's a pop quiz. How many months have 28 days? What gets wetter as it dries? What has keys but can't open locks? If you don't want to hear the answers, turn off this Liberty Mutual ad now. 12 months, a towel, piano. Enjoy being fully alert.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Yo. Thanks again for checking out another edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm 12 Kyle. Then again, if you're listening, you should know that by now. If you haven't done so already, make sure that you subscribe to the podcast. You can find this podcast just about anywhere. We're on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, Overcast FM, Google Play, YouTube, and of course you can catch me on Facebook, facebook.com/spell it out, TWELVEKYLE. You can catch me on Instagram at 12 Kyle Podcast. You can catch me on Twitter at 12 Kyle Podcast, or you can follow me at 12 Kyle, the number 12 KYLE. So there's no reason not to subscribe to this podcast. On today's podcast, we're going to talk a little bit about the 44th president. A little politics. Barack Hussein Obama. So grab your popcorn, turn your speakers up. We're going to drop the theme music and we're going to get this podcast cracking. And with that, I am back. As I mentioned at the top, I'm going to be talking about President Obama. To be honest, when I sat down, I really wasn't sure as to what I was going to talk about because I didn't have an idea for a podcast. And then I sat down and I thought about it. I was like, well, what's on my mind? And what was on my mind was the final days of the Obama administration. It's been 8 years. And I got very reflective, and I think a lot of us have been reflective over these past few weeks and days and months, just reflecting on what has transpired, not just with the new election, but also with the election as well as the presidency of Barack Obama. I go back with President Obama back to the days when he was a senator. He spoke at the DNC in 2004. To be honest, I didn't know who he was. I just knew it was some, light-skinned guy on the TV screen talking. And so I listened, and he was charismatic. But, if you had told me that night that, he would one day become our president, I would have told you were crazy. There was always that notion, especially when I was coming up as a kid, that, you could be anything that you wanted to be. Well, anything but president. So, and you just didn't dream that high. But I voted for change. He ran on the campaign of change, and yes, we can. And I voted for change in 2008, and I voted for change again in 2012. And I'm so glad that I did. I think really to understand my feelings toward Barack Obama and what his presidency did, you have to kind of look at, I go back to something that was said. I think it had to be in the last campaign. The previous campaign in 2012, when Mitt Romney was asking people, or at least part of his campaign slogan was, the Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan ticket said, 4 years later, are you better off? And that was them asking the question in 2012. And I had to say, hell yeah, I was better off than I was in 2008. And I had to go back to how life was and what life was for me in 2008. In 2008, as many of you know, or maybe some of you, well, actually, most of you probably don't know because you don't know me personally. But I had to go back to my time. I am a mortgage underwriter. I've been in the mortgage business, man, probably about almost 17 years now. And I'd gotten out of the mortgage industry because I was just really fed up. In 2007, I was like, man, I'm done. This is, the mortgage industry had become the wild, wild west, if you will. I mean, like if you had a pulse, you could get a loan. And subprime loans were big and nobody was following rules. And it was crazy. So, and this was the tipping point for the mortgage industry collapse. And I actually got out of the game, if you will, before the industry collapsed. So I saw it all crumble. And in 2008, I was like, man, I'm done. And I was doing something else. I was working at another place and I was just like, I'm chill. I'm going to do this or whatever. And, Obama goes into office and, probably within his first 30, maybe 60 days, he puts out these initiatives to, get people to refinance their homes. And, these mortgage companies are like, okay, well, hey, we're getting people to refinance. We're going to need more underwriters. We're going to need more seasoned underwriters. Let's get some senior underwriters out here. And, my phone started ringing. And the next thing I know, I'm working a contract for Wells Fargo. And it was like one of the best things that happened because it got me back in the game. If I can unequivocally say that if Barack Obama had not been president, things would have changed for me and subsequently for my family. I got back in the game as far as the mortgage game. And what I got back into was, an industry that had been flipped upside down, an industry that now had rules and regulations and, wasn't the wild, wild west anymore. Credit restrictions were tight or tighter, and rightfully so. And we saw the industry bottom out as far as, the subprime loans and foreclosures and things of that nature. And that had to happen in order for the housing market to rebound. And, I was a part of that and seeing that and watching that grow into something to what it is today and watching the stock market go for it. And I follow the stock market. I have to, but watching the stock market go from being nothing to something, that meant a lot. And I think really that I have to, not just, obviously I lean on my skills as well as my marketing degree, but, if it weren't for these initiatives, there's no way in the world I would be where I'm sitting today. And subsequently, neither would my family be. And it's helped provide for a very nice life that I live. I'm not a slave I'm just as much a slave to the dollar as anybody else is. But I'm very thankful and appreciative of Barack Obama for what he did. Not just that, that's just really my history with President Obama. And again, I voted for him twice, and I think that his presidency, first and foremost, I think one of the biggest things that, when you look at his impact, I think just on a personal note, I think being able to turn the TV on every day or log into my computer every day and see this man carry himself with such style and grace. And then you also have to understand too that, being on the financial side and understanding how financial markets work, I realized where we were as far as where we were as an economy. I understood that, just to really break it down in the most layman's of terms, when Bill Clinton left office, the economy was a Porsche. It was running smooth. Everything was fine as far as the economy. There was a lot of stuff wrong in the country, but the economy was running fine. And he turned it over to George Bush. And George Bush, in my opinion, messed it up. I mean, like by the time George Bush left after 8 years and handed it over to Barack Obama, it was no longer a Porsche. It was a hoopty. It was sitting on blocks. It needed a new engine. The carburetor was bad, needed a new transmission. I mean, like everything was wrong. And, personally speaking, I voted for change, hoping that he would make changes and help, reestablish what the economy could be and bringing voter confidence back into what we could be better as a country. And he did that in spite of, being blocked and having roadblocks thrown at him in almost every form of fashion. Did he make mistakes? Of course he did. He's not perfect. I mean, crazy to think he is perfect, but I think he did a great job as far as making this economy rebound. And then, like I said, we voted again in 2012. And if I could have voted for him again in 2016, I would have. I am very, very, happy and elated to where I think we were. So it goes back to, so for me, I go back to, the question that Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan posed back in 2012. Are you, these years, in this case, 8 years later, are you better off? Hell yeah, I'm better off. I shudder to think as to what, not just my job status or anything like that, but where this economy would be. Because as I mentioned, back then, foreclosures were at a all-time high. The low value of homes were low. Credit, there were so many obstacles, and really to come in and not just save this industry, but save the auto industry. And I mean, now, at one point in time, you had a hard time buying cars. I mean, because people were just really afraid to spend their money and their disposable income because they knew that, or at least they thought, well, hey, I don't want to spend my money because I could be getting laid off tomorrow. So, if for me, I've watched these things just from a business perspective and watched the world change and watch this country change and watch this economy change, and then subsequently watch my personal life change as far as what I've been able to do and provide for my family. So for that measure alone, I am, very, very happy and satisfied with the progress and the work that Barack Obama did, in spite of, the detractors and the naysayers and the ones, in Congress that, stood in his way at every turn. And trust me, there's people that stood in his way at every turn. And then there was, the asshole that even, questioned whether or not he was born in the United States. I mean, let me stop there for a second. And I really want to address this. I mean, where else in the world do you think that, a guy who, do you really, really think that a guy who wasn't born in the United States would be able to be the leader of the free world? That's not going to happen, especially someone who is black. I mean, let's just keep it real. That's not going to happen. And, so it's funny that, this clown spent, a year and some change, trying to lay claim to the fact that our president was not a U.S. born citizen, which we all know is not the case. Nevertheless, like I said, there were some missteps, but overall, I mean, if I had to grade him, I'd give him an A. And I am very, thrilled as to what he was able to do. But again, I think for me, one of the biggest impacts was to be able to turn on the television screen and see someone that looked like me, see someone who, listened to the same music that I listened to, understood my plight and understood where I was coming from, understood what it was like to, go to college, and understood what it's like to, participate in neighborhood community service projects and things of that nature. Someone who I could definitely relate to. And I think this was the first time in my life that I could see a political figure. I mean, because to be honest, I really can't identify with Jesse Jackson. I mean, that's what we had as black people when I was coming up, Jesse Jackson. There's no knock on Jesse. I'm not a fan of Jesse, never have been. But, I can't relate to Jesse and Reverend Al and those cats. With that being said, I think I really enjoyed not just watching him, but how he handled our most difficult of crises with style and grace and a man of honor. and he, he held it in, and I would love to sit down and talk to him and, ask him about some of his best days and some of his worst days. And I know he's often said that, the toughest day that he had in office was the day that those, 20 kids were killed at Sandy Hook Elementary School. And I can only imagine, I know how I felt as a parent. I can only imagine how he felt as the leader of the free world. But his impact will be long reaching. I think his legacy, is a tough thing to really kind of hold on to, because legacy, you tend to think of someone's legacy after they're gone, meaning like, left the earth. But and he's not doing that anytime soon. But I think both he and First Lady Michelle Obama, who is let me stop right there, man. Incredible. We will never. Now, I'm a firm believer that Barack Obama will not be the last president, but we will never see a first lady that, filled with that kind of love and joy and beauty and intelligence and style and grace ever in the White House. Unless it's my daughter. I mean, it'll never happen. I mean, I love Michelle Obama. Their daughters, I can only imagine, growing, and their daughters are the same ages as my sons. I can't imagine, having their lives turned upside down. I mean, they didn't, they just want mom and dad. They didn't ask to be in this bubble that they lived in for the last 8 years, but I think they've handled it, as well as you could expect any child to handle it, and then some. But First Lady Obama, I mean, she is incredible. But as far as President Obama's legacy, I think he will go down, and I will admit that there's a tremendous amount of love and respect that I have for the man. So, so I'm biased, but I don't care. It's my podcast and you're listening, so it doesn't matter. But I think his legacy, man, will be one that I think when it's all said and done, he will go down as one of the greatest presidents of all time. The Affordable Health Care Act, just ensuring that, millions of United States citizens have health care, from taking down terrorists to, all of the things that he did. And I'm not going to run off his list of accomplishments. You know what he did. But nonetheless, man, I think it's been a pleasure, man, for me to really just watch this man every day and just, understand where we were and where we are now. And I think that's the thing that I will take with me as far as when I look at President Obama's legacy. You have to, and again, a lot of times I look at stuff from a business perspective because I'm so intertwined with the financial markets or what have you. But if you look at where we were and compare that to where we are now, I mean, like, it's really literally night and day. And, a lot of credit goes to him and his administration and the team of people that he put together. And I think he did a great job as, surrounding his cabinet and putting people around him that, were about, the American people. And when you hear him talk, he always talks about the American people. And I've heard some people, and it's been some chatter, and, I might as well, and I'm going to address it right now in this podcast. I've heard black people say, well, he didn't do enough for the brothers. He didn't do enough for the brothers. I mean, like, really? How much did Ronald Reagan do for the brothers? How much did, either of the Bushes do for the brothers? How much did Bill Clinton do for the brothers? I think that we as men, I'm speaking as a black man, I think sometimes we as black people try to, at times, hold him to a different standard that we never held to anybody else. Is it just because he was black? Possibly. But at the same time, you have to understand how politics work. He's the leader of the free world. So he's trying to help everybody, which includes black people. But I don't think that you expected him, if you expected him to get in office and, just to make all of the rules and everything, all the laws benefit black people. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. With that being said, I think he did a lot a lot. And if you ever question as to what he did for black people, do your Google. Go to Google, do your Google search, and just type in his name and what he did for black people. Again, I think he did a lot, and I've been accused as being an Obama apologist. I'm not an apologist. I'm a realist, and I will tell you, where I thought he made mistakes at. But and again, he's human. I mean, like, show me somebody who doesn't make mistakes. But that being said, I thought he did an incredible job, and I don't know that. And what I would like to see going forward is that I don't want to see a lot of the progress that we made as a country go backwards. Generally, when there's a change in power, there is at least financially, there's a step back. As much as I hate to say it, under this new administration, I would not be surprised if within 2 years we're back in another recession. And President Obama's administration helped us get out of one of the worst recessions that this country has ever seen. And due in part to a lot of the policies and procedures that were set forth by President Bush. And God only knows what this next fool is going to do. With that being said, I think you have to look at it from a broad perspective. And I understand that everybody doesn't look at it from my perspective. But I ask myself, am I better off 8 years later? Of course I am. I'm 10 times better off than where I was. And I think his impact and his legacy, I think his legacy is something that, we're going to, help him define. And one of the great things that I love about President Obama is that I really believe the fact that, when he said in his final address that he was still going to be out here working for, the American people, I truly believe that. Now, if it were me, I mean, I'd probably, kick back and just chill for a couple of years and just, vacation. And I understand he's got a child in school and, one going to college next year. So I get that. I'm sorry, she's not going. She's sitting out of school. She's sitting out a year, I think. But yeah, I'll probably, and he's still going to live in DC. I think from what I understand, where he's living in DC is only like a couple of miles from the White House. So, that's just me. I mean, if it was up to over 12 would be somewhere, on a beach, in my Speedos where no mosquitoes are at. No Speedos. That was a joke. But yeah, I would definitely be chilling. I wouldn't be somewhere trying to fight, but that's who he is. And again, I'm truly going to miss turning on the news each and every night and seeing his face and seeing, him talking about whatever it was he was talking. I mean, so many times I tuned into press conferences and things of that nature and became educated on stuff that, even stuff that wasn't necessarily stuff that dealt with us firsthand right here in the United States. I will always remember that photo from the White House of, when they invaded and took out I forgot the terrorist name. You know what I'm talking about. Saddam Hussein. So yeah, I mean, it's not it's really hard for me to put into words what I think his legacy is. I think his legacy will be incredible. I think his legacy will be one that we as a whole, I know most black people are really going to miss him. Most white people are really going to miss him, at least the black and white people that I know. But I think his legacy will continue to grow. And I think he's going to be one of those presidents that will really, really, really be appreciated in what he tried to do once he's out of office. And I think when you look at the landscape of the fact of who's coming behind him, he's really going to be missed because there's no telling what these next 4 years are going to be. With that being said, I think, he's going to do everything that he can in his power to continue to fight. And that's all that you can ask for. But I have, because I won't have a chance, or at least I haven't had a chance thus far to talk to President Obama. I sent him an email, man, but I ain't hear back from him. So I was trying to get him on his podcast, man, but I know he's moving and stuff, and probably by the time most of you hear this podcast, he will be out of the White House. So yeah, I sent him an email. I tried to get him on. I don't know. Maybe we get him on another podcast. But yeah, man, I'm very, very thankful and appreciative of everything that he's done for not just this country, but more on a personal note for me. So again, I asked myself the same question that Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan asked 8 years later: are you better off? And that's the question I kind of throw out to you, the listeners. Are you better off, coming through the Obama administration? I would hope that most of you would say yes. Some of you, it may not be the case. And I'm pretty sure that there may be a few of you listening that didn't vote for him at all. And that's your prerogative. But for me, it's bittersweet, to see him leave. I'm glad that I got a chance to see him. I'm glad that my children, all of them, especially my youngest two, who at the time of this recording are 10 and 5, really that's all that they've known as far as a president. You know what I mean? So that's bugged out. So now they'll get a taste, but they'll be able to tell their kids and their grandkids that they have memories of President Obama. And so for me, I think that says a lot. And that's something I think as we as a people will carry on with us throughout our lifetimes. And I'm glad that, I remember some of the older people when I was a kid saying, there'll never be a black president. And I'm glad that I was old enough, and I'm glad that my 94-year-old grandmother was still alive to see that come to fruition. And I'm glad of everybody who didn't think that it would happen, to see it happen, and not just see it happen, but see him come in and do the best job that he could in serving the American people and being the example that he was for all of us. And for that, I am thankful. I'm going to leave you guys with a quick song, and, want to thank you all for checking out the podcast. That's going to do it for me. I'm your host, 12 Kyle. I'll holler at you guys next time. 5 G's.
If you work in university maintenance, Grainger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Grainger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more. And all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, visit Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is the story of the one. As a procurement manager for a hospital system, she keeps every facility in her network stocked and ready. That's why she counts on Grainger to be her single source for thousands of products, from disinfectants to lighting, air filters, and more. And with fast, dependable delivery, Grainger helps her keep every facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.